A U.S. Navy-guided missile destroyer conducted a freedom of navigation operation in the South China Sea this week, sailing through an area that the Chinese Communist Party claims as its own, despite competing claims from 5 other governments. The move comes amid heightened tensions in the region following China's increasingly hostile actions against the self-ruled island of Taiwan, which Beijing views as a breakaway province that will eventually be under Chinese control. Here's what we know about the latest freedom of navigation operation in the South China Sea. What is a freedom of navigation operation? Freedom of navigation operations are conducted by the U.S. Navy to uphold the right to free navigation in international waters. Such operations involve ships sailing through international waters that are not overly close to another country's landmass. However, some countries, such as China, claim exclusive economic rights over vast swathes of international waters, which they use to exert control over regional shipping lanes and choke points. This claim is rejected by the United States and many other countries. In 2015, the Obama administration conducted the first known phone-op in the South China Sea when the USS Lassen sailed within 12 miles of one of China's artificial islands in an area known as the West Philippine Sea. In total, there have been at least 18 such operations since then. Why did the U.S. Navy conduct this operation? The U.S. Navy conducts these operations to uphold international law. The latest one was conducted near the Paracel Islands, a group of islands in the South China Sea claimed by China, Vietnam, and Taiwan. China currently controls the Paracels, but has been expanding its presence in the region and asserting dominance over the entire South China Sea. According to the U.S. Navy, the Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer USS John Paul Jones conducted the operation on Monday, November 29th. The ship sailed in the Spratly Islands, a group of islands claimed by China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Taiwan, Malaysia, and Brunei. China has overlapping claims over all of these countries' claims and considers the entire South China Sea as its own, a claim that has no basis in international law. Lieutenant Joe Carpenter, a spokesman for the U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet, told Newsweek that the ship conducted the operation in accordance with international law to challenge unlawful maritime claims and to maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific. Carpenter added that the United States does not take any country's sovereign right to waters near its coast, which is called the territorial sea, but that it will continue to push back against any country that attempts to restrict the freedom of the seas. He said the ship's action demonstrates America's commitment to upholding freedom of navigation and rules-based international order that promotes peace, stability, and prosperity in the Indo-Pacific. He added that the United States does not recognize China's excessive maritime claims in the region. Tensions in the South China Sea have escalated in recent years, due to China's increasingly aggressive actions in the region, including the construction of military facilities on artificial islands and the deployment of naval vessels near to those islands. These actions have raised concerns among neighboring countries in the region, including the Philippines, Vietnam, and Malaysia, who also have territorial disputes with China in the South China Sea. China claims over 80% of the South China Sea based on a 9-dash line that it says has historical roots going back centuries. However, the UN's 2016 ruling stated that there was no evidence of historical rights that China could use to support its claims. Despite this, China continues to build military infrastructure in the region and has conducted numerous patrols in an effort to assert its dominance over the area. What is the significance of the Paracel Islands? The Paracel Islands are a group of islands in the South China Sea that are claimed by 3 countries, China, Vietnam, and Taiwan. China currently controls the islands after taking them from South Vietnam in 1974 during the Sino-Vietnamese War. The islands are strategically important because they are located in a key shipping route and are rich in natural resources such as oil and gas. They are also close to important oil fields in the Gulf of Thailand. Why are the Paracel Islands important? The Paracel Islands are important for several reasons. First, they are located in a strategic location in the South China Sea, controlling important shipping lanes and choke points. This makes them important for both military and commercial shipping. Second, the islands are believed to be rich in natural resources, including oil and gas. While it is unclear how much oil and gas may be present, the potential for resource extraction is a significant draw for countries in the region. Third, the islands are part of a larger territorial dispute in the South China Sea. China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan all have overlapping claims in the region, leading to increased tensions and the potential for conflict. The Paracel Islands are at the center of this dispute, and controlling them gives a country a strategic advantage in the region. Finally, the islands are an important symbolic prize for the countries involved. Each country sees the islands as an important part of their national territory, and controlling them would be a significant boost to their national pride and prestige. How do other countries view this operation? China has been conducting military activities near the Taiwan Strait in recent months in an attempt to intimidate the island and its supporters. On October, a Chinese fighter jet flew dangerously close to a U.S. Air Force RC-135 reconnaissance plane over international water in the East China Sea. The U.S. Indo-Pacific Command said that the Chinese pilot conducted an unsafe intercept, which is defined as any aerial maneuver that increases the risk of collision or forces another aircraft to take evasive action. The incident is just the latest in a string of dangerous encounters between the U.S. and Chinese military aircraft near Taiwan. China claims that Taiwan is a breakaway province that will eventually be under Chinese control, and it has been conducting military activities near the island as a way of intimidating the Taiwanese people and discouraging any formal declaration of independence. The United States does not recognize China's claims on Taiwan and has a moral obligation and commitment to help defend the island. On November, the U.S. Navy announced that the USS Ramage, a destroyer based in Japan, conducted a freedom of navigation operation near the Paracel Islands in the South China Sea. The ship sailed through an area that is claimed by China, but is also claimed by Vietnam and Taiwan. The operation was conducted to challenge China's unlawful maritime claims in the area and to uphold the rights to freedom of navigation and overflight. In response to the operation, China's Ministry of Defense said that the move was a deliberate provocation that violated the basic norms of international relations and that it would take necessary measures to safeguard national sovereignty and security. But the U.S. Navy's move was praised by some as a necessary step to counter China's increasingly aggressive behavior in the region. Some argue that China's actions in the South China Sea are a violation of international law and that the U.S. military's presence in the region helps to maintain stability and peace. Others argue that China's actions are a necessary response to what it perceives as a threat from the United States and its allies. What happens next? It remains to be seen how China will respond to the latest freedom of navigation operation. However, it is likely that China will continue to conduct military activities near the Taiwan Strait as a way of intimidating the island and its supporters. The U.S. military will likely continue to monitor the situation closely and conduct operations in the region to maintain stability and peace. It is also possible that the U.S. and China will continue to engage in diplomatic talks in an effort to reduce tensions and find a peaceful resolution to the issue. However, with China's increasingly aggressive actions in the region, it is unclear whether or not meaningful talks are possible. Only time will tell how this situation will develop further. Do you think China feels threatened by the U.S. military presence in the region, or is the U.S. provoking China with these freedom of navigation operations? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates.